week 2 of our After You study, and this one is called
Come on, Bobby.
Selfless Living Requires Opening Your Hands, with the emphasis of just open hands. All right, that's what we want to focus in on tonight, is open hands. Quick question to get things started. What is something in your life, this does require crowd participation, that makes your life more convenient?
My car.
Yeah,
Vehicle. Why? Why? How's it convenient?
If I didn't have my car.
Valid point.
Burritos all the way.
What?
Hard, dude.
How is Barbaritos a convenience for you?
I don't ever eat it often, and we're supposed to.
I think you're misunderstanding the definition of convenience, but I appreciate your enthusiasm.
Man, they're good ones. My mom. Okay, how about family?
All right.
You just said mom.
Explain, since you had your shot there, Logan, so we're going to give DJ the opportunity with, why is your mom a convenience for you?
Well, she makes me sandwiches.
She makes you sandwiches.
Yeah.
Anybody think of any other kind of conveniences?
Calculators.
All right, why is the calculator convenient?
I don't like math. And doing all that stuff in my head gets really confusing
The-
after a while.
all right, see, mine is more like, calculators are more of a desperation thing for me because I can't do math. So without a calculator, there's just no hope for me whatsoever. Yes, Nubs. All right, we're going to keep on going. Okay, so middle school boys, that one's just going to soar right on over your head, but that's fine. So here's some of my favorite conveniences. One, people that play video games will understand this. The ability to download games onto my Xbox is a really good convenience for me because I don't have to go anywhere to buy a game. I just click it and it downloads it and there it is. Convenience number 1. All right. Second convenience that I really like are heated seats. There is nothing like some toasty buns in the wintertime, okay? Like when you jump up in your car and you're freezing, you turn the seat warmer on, you're just like... Kid you not, like my Jeep that has a dent in it, it has seat warmers. And if it is below, give or take 70 degrees, Becca has the seat warmer on everywhere we go. She has it on in June, August, not July. She actually turns into a normal person and strays away from it then. But heated seats. Something else that's a convenience that some of you all don't even think about are electric windows in your car.
Yeah.
Yo, back in the day we had to lean across and whip it down. You know, some of us still have to do that, right? So electric windows, something that's a major convenience for my family, as in me and Becca, is we're not having a baby. Okay, chill out. The Chick-fil-A app, because you get on it and you're like, order to go. I go pick it up. It's great. All right, we love that. And it's so convenient because you build up rewards. And they give you free stuff all the time, which is wonderful. And the other thing to me that's a major convenience for you that helps me out, over the past few years, like when I first got into youth ministry, it didn't really affect me as much, but I type a lot. Like for my lessons and everything, I'm just sitting in there like stirring up the pot, doing my thing. And something that has become a major convenience for me is voice to text. So on my computer, instead of typing, I just press it and I start talking. And it just writes down everything that I say for me. That is convenient because it keeps my little wrist from getting carpal tunnel when I'm 26 years old. I don't want to... How lame would it be if I showed up on Wednesday with 2 little wrist braces on and little scratches? You guys are like, what is that? I had to have dual carpal tunnel surgery and I'm 26 years old. Don't worry about it, okay? Don't want that to happen. Convenience is a great thing. But the thing about convenience is that it always costs something. All right, convenience always costs something. Sometimes convenience will cost you specifically something. All right, for example, you might like to go to the Pinnacle to watch movies. And at the Pinnacle, if you go to that super jumbo theater, the really, really, really cool one with the way bigger screen and the even bigger seats that lean you way back and you're just like, why don't I have this at my house? This is awesome. If you enjoy those seats, enjoy that movie experience, that's a convenience for you, but it's going to cost you a little bit extra to get into that theater for whatever movie you want to watch. Or maybe you could even use how many of you guys have an electric toothbrush? I did. I lost mine, so I have a normal one. Electric, don't worry about it, okay? My life is complicated. But the thing with electric toothbrushes is like, yeah, it will clean your teeth with less effort. You can be totally lazy and turn it on and just go. I don't even have to move my arm up and down, you know? But the fact of the matter is an electric toothbrush is more expensive than your normal standard Colgate bud that I have in my little jar at home. Other times, our convenience might not cost us anything, right? Let's say you go to like a sweet coffee shop and they have free Wi-Fi. It didn't cost you anything. You can just sit in there and use your Wi-Fi. Or maybe, going through the McDonald's drive-thru, it does not cost us any more money to go through the drive-thru than it does to walk inside. And if you're like me, I'm staying in the car all day because I don't want to see people in Chick-fil-A or something. I just want to get my food and get out. Okay, I don't have time to talk to you when I'm trying to eat my chicken sandwich. But I see it kind of saves us time and energy to go through the drive-thru. So depending on what you're doing and where you need to go, another example I guess would be you could get an Uber to go somewhere, right? And if you don't have a car, it's significantly cheaper to get an Uber to go somewhere than it is to go and buy a vehicle. All right? Unless you're just like racking up an Uber charge every single day. That's going to get a little bit pricey. And I have like a little beef with Uber right now, if I'm honest with you. Because when we were at Student Life Camp, my wife had to come down late. So one, I had to get her a plane ticket to come to Student Life Camp. Happy she was there, but plane tickets are not cheap. Then she gets there, and I'm in the hotel lobby. This is the first night. I'm just sitting down there waiting for her, and it's 11:30, and it's been one of the longest days of my entire life. I kid you not, fell asleep sitting up in a chair 7 times while I was waiting for Becca, and I dropped my phone out of my hand 3 times while I was sitting there. So the person at the desk is probably just watching me, and I'm like, I'm awake. So, no. But Becca's Uber pulls up and drops her off, and it ended up being like an $87 Uber charge because it was a pretty long drive, and Becca's dumb and booked like one of the Uber X things, so it was like a jumbo car. But she gets there, and we thought we got billed for it. Turns out I just got billed for that Uber 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, random $87 charge on my card. I was like, what is this? Then it pops up with little Felipe's face, her driver, that's like, thank you for your business. Da-da-da-da. I was like, bro, you got it. Come on now. It's been like 6 months, okay? How are you going to do that to me? That's totally... So I just needed to vent about that to a group of people because go with Lyft or something. They'll bill you on time. When we think about conveniences, they're obviously more convenient for us. All right, sometimes they don't even cost us anything extra. But that does not mean that those conveniences don't cost someone something. All right, it might be convenient. This sentence applies to me spiritually. It might be convenient for you to order that grande iced triple caramel soy macchiato with an extra pump of caramel. Okay, might be convenient for you to do that. But fulfilling that order is not convenient for the barista that's trying to put it together. Like, it'd be way easier if you were like, I just want a caramel macchiato or something. They're like, cool, that's literally diagrammed right here for me to make. But when you come up and you're like, yeah, I want the grande iced triple caramel soy macchiato with an extra pump of caramel and some sprinkles and all this other stuff, they're like, dude, I've been working here for a week. Like, I don't even know what you're talking about right now. There's also, it might be convenient for you to prop up your feet on those recliners that we talked about at movies, and maybe accidentally, spill half of your entire bowl of popcorn into every single living crevice of that recliner. And you're like, not a big deal. And then you leave. But that's very inconvenient for the dude that has to come in there when the movie's over and get the entire theater spotless again for the next people to come in like 20 minutes. 100% not convenient, all right? The point is this. When we choose convenience for ourselves, we're often choosing inconvenience for someone else. All right? When we choose convenience for ourselves, we're often choosing inconvenience for someone else. All right, DJ, you've got a pencil. Come here with your pencil. No, just come here with your pencil. All right, drop your pencil. Pick it up with your hand. All right, now drop your pencil. Make a fist with your hand. Try and pick up your pencil with that one fist without moving any of your fingers. You can't, right? It's very hard to pick something up with a closed fist. All right? Which goes into, that's a stupid illustration to a simple point that's actually a really deep thing to think about. It is a lot easier to accomplish tasks with open hands. All right, it's a lot easier to accomplish tasks with open hands. And that is exactly how God has called us to live our lives, not with closed fists, but with open hands. We're going to be digging into the book of Luke tonight. It's going to be Luke 10, verses 25 through 37. But we're going to start off with verses 25 through 29. That says this, right? We're in a familiar story, okay? The parable of the Good Samaritan. Behold, a lawyer stood up to put him to the test, saying, Teacher, what shall I do to inherit eternal life? He said to him, What is written in the law? How do you read it? And he answered, You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, and with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself. And he said to him, You've answered correctly, do this, and you will live. But he, desiring to justify himself, said to Jesus, And who is my neighbor? All right, so we're going to stop for a second. When we read that first chunk of Scripture, this guy is coming to Jesus in a very me-first mentality, right? He's like, hey, what do I have to do to get into heaven? He's like, you got to love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, with all your strength. Do these things, da-da-da-da. And the guy's like, cool, I already did all that stuff. So what else do I have to do? Oh, you got to love your neighbor as yourself. Oh, okay, well, if you say that, who exactly is my neighbor that we're talking about? Like, who are we talking about? This guy has a me-first, fist-clenched mentality, right? He does not want anything to really do with what Jesus is talking about. He just wants to know, how do I get to heaven? How do I save my spot? How do I make sure that my destination is in check? How do I get to do any of these things? Not what do you actually have to offer me? Who are you? What are you doing? Like anything about you, it's me, 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 me. And Jesus is looking at him saying, I have this new way of life for you. All right, I have this plan where you follow after me with your heart, and then your entire life is different. But this guy's essentially saying, I want to hold on to what I have and still get the same result that you're promising to those that follow you. I want to keep my stuff and kind of know who you are, is what he's saying. And you would probably, like, if you're a follower of Christ, you would say, what kind of an idiot would say that to Jesus? Well, the answer to that is you, daily, all right? Whenever you're choosing all of that unnecessary stuff over Jesus, whenever you're having those desires where you say, I choose this over God, or this takes precedence in my life over who he is, you are daily choosing yourself and choosing your desires over him and his desires for you. All right, so that is actually us. All right, verses 30 through 32. There we go. In reply, Jesus said, a man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho when he was attacked by robbers. All right, they stripped him of his clothes, beat him, and went away, leaving him half dead. A priest happened to be going down the same road, and when he saw the man, he passed by on the other side. So too a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, passed by on the other side. All right, so stop there for a second. All right, so what you need to understand, just a little bit of context, right? These are two dudes that would claim to love God and love other people. And what they're doing is noticing a suffering man laying on the side of the road who is in pain and literally dying and doing nothing. All right, they're choosing to do nothing. Instead of opening their hands to help, or his hands to help, the priest keeps his hands closed, right? He keeps them clenched. He was hanging tightly to his own convenience at the expense of someone else. That's a major inconvenience, right? Bleeding, dying dude on the side of the road, that's going to kind of interrupt your daily plans. All right, it's not just like, let me assess the situation and address this for about 3.5 minutes, then I'm going to go on my merry way. No, like, this is a game changer. This is a big thing to commit to. Most people in a church setting would probably sit and bash these dudes for just passing by. You've probably heard plenty of messages that are like, yep, they're just awful, and they walked right on by, and then the one good one showed up, and he was like, oh. But the fact of the matter is, me personally, I've never ignored a bleeding, dying dude on the side of the road before. Okay, like that's never happened. But I'm just as guilty as these guys. And so are you. All right, we pass by people in need all the time. Quick example of that. My mom is a diabetic. Okay, crazy kind of story. and this is a side story, has nothing to do really with what we're talking about or what I'm about to talk about, but my mom got diagnosed with juvenile incurable type 1 diabetes. Those of you that don't know, juvenile means children, right? You're supposed to get it when you're a kid. My mom was diagnosed with that probably about 5 years ago after losing both of her parents in the same day. They died within about an hour of each other. And then a couple hours later, my mom's sugar bottomed out. And she went to the doctor, and they were like, oh, yeah, you have juvenile type 1 diabetes. This is incurable. And you're going to have to like give yourself insulin or have a pump or something for the rest of your life, or else you're going to die. So I tell you that to say this, like, we have this mentality of just like, man, if I'm good and I follow the Lord and I love him, good stuff's going to happen to me and my life's going to be great. Not the case whatsoever. All right. God doesn't promise you a wonderful, good life or good things to happen to you when you put your faith and your hope and your trust in him. What he does promise you is that you're going to have an ally that's never going to leave your side, a guide that's never going to stop being in front of you, and a protector that's never going to stop being behind you. All right, he's going to be with you every single step of the way. When one of my best friends died in front of my very eyes, he was with me, right, in that process. When my mom went through this sickness and this loss, he was right there. He didn't go anywhere. He didn't promise it was going to be easy. He didn't promise it was going to be good, but he promised it was going to be worth it. All right, it's worth it to be with him in the end and to walk with him in our lives. So anyway, my mom's diabetic. And a few years ago, before I was even dating Becca or married or anything like that, it was just me and my mom at my parents' house. And I came up the stairs and I found her lethargic and just like virtually unconscious, kind of almost unresponsive at the top of the stairs. And she's just sitting there like, I was like, Mom, what is wrong? She can't really even talk to me, like can't formulate words or anything like that. And what had happened is her sugar and glucose levels had dropped literally to like almost nothing. And what happens with that is if you let it get to a certain point, you'll pass out. And if it gets to a certain point past that, your heart's going to stop beating and you're going to die. Okay, so it's like, okay, I run in, grab some glucose tablets, some bananas, all kinds of different stuff, and start pumping this stuff into my mom. She ends up being fine. She's still here today. But imagine if I came up to the top of the stairs and I looked at my mom and I just walked right past her. Okay, walked right past her and left her there. And not only that, but I didn't even acknowledge that my mom was in any form of need whatsoever. Walked to the fridge, got some water, went back downstairs, and started playing 2K again. Like, what would you think about me if I did that? Like, dude, you're a piece of crap. What are you doing? That's your mom, right? And not only that, but my mom would be dead. Okay? That sounds absolutely terrible. But you're doing that exact same thing every day with people that you refuse to encounter because it affects your comfort. All right? There are people that are spiritually dying all around you. And because of your own comfort and your own convenience, you choose to walk right past them and not give them the time of day. Last time I checked, someone that was spiritually dead was way worse off than someone who was physically dying. All right? If you're spiritually dead, there's no hope for you. All right? So we get into to go a little bit of a step further. Essentially, you're choosing your comfort over the needs of people. All right? And that is the opposite of who Christ is. Verses 33 through 37. But a Samaritan, as he traveled, came where the man was, and when he saw him, he took pity on him. He went to him and bandaged his wounds, pouring on oil and wine. Then he put the man on his own donkey, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. All right, the next day he took out 2 denarii and gave them to the innkeeper. Look after him, he said, and when I return, I will reimburse you for any extra expense you may have. Which of these 3 do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of robbers? The expert in the law replied, the one who had mercy on him. Jesus told him, go and do likewise. All right. What we need to keep in mind for some additional context in the story is that the fact that Jesus decided to make a Samaritan the hero of the story is one of the most controversial things you could possibly get in Scripture. These are 2 people groups that absolutely despise each other. There's an entire VeggieTales episode about it. Okay, you can go check that out. But for real, these two people groups absolutely hate each other. And so in this story, when Jesus is presenting it, people that are listening are going to be like kind of paying attention. And then he's going to say that and they're going to be like, wait, what did you just say? Hold on a second. This is like the equivalent of, if you go back multiple years in our country to where racism was even more prominent, right? And you had an extremely racist people group and you said, yeah, this white dude went and helped this black dude out. People would be like, what did you say? Thank God it's not as bad anymore, even though that does still exist in our country. But that would kind of be the equivalent of what was going on, all right? So Jesus' audience, which was primarily Jews, 100% hated the people of Samaria and vice versa. All right, the Jews disagreed with the Samaritans' beliefs and believed that they should not even associate with each other. All right, this was a tense and violent relationship. So when Jesus portrays a Samaritan as being compassionate and kind and merciful towards a Jewish man, the only response that that's going to get from people is controversy. Because one people group is going to be like, we're pretty nice. See, like, we're not so bad. And the other group's going to be like, okay, no, like they would never do that. We hate them. All right, never, ever, ever going to help us out. But Jesus knew that his listeners would be listening with clenched fists. He knew they'd be hanging on to their prejudice, their assumptions, and their hatred. And so Jesus did something really, really cool with this story. He made the object of their hatred the model for living with open hands. All right, he took the very thing that they hated and turned it into the example of what it looks like to live and love and care for people the way that Christ does. Loving God is not about doing a lot of religious things correctly. Loving God is about loving the people that God created, no matter the inconvenience. All right, it's about living selflessly. And as we've learned in this story, living selflessly requires opening your hands, being willing to help people, being willing to step out of your own path, step out of your own comfort zone, step out of maybe things that you've held on to that you shouldn't, and be willing to help whoever, whenever, however, because that is exactly what Jesus did. So what do we do? All right. How do we let go of our love for convenience so that our hands can be free to help other people? The first thing we have to do is be open with our time. All right, be open with our time. When you think about it, it doesn't really give detail of where the Samaritan dude was going in the story, but it's essential. He's obviously going somewhere. And whatever he was doing, he completely dropped everything he was doing to help this guy, right? It says that he went and he tended to his wounds, and then he put him up on his donkey. And then whichever way he was going from there, they took off, and he took him to an inn, and he dropped him off at the inn. And something that a lot of people look over in this story that is a very just like, what a God thing, Jesus thing to do. He paid for him to be there, but then he gave extra to say, just in case anything else comes up, I'm going to cover it. And that's the same way that God has acted upon us in our lives. It's like, not only do I have you covered, but I've got grace for you a little bit extra just in case anything comes up. All right, I've got your front, your back, your side, your top, your bottom. I've got you covered. I am taking care of you. This dude had somewhere to go. He had something to do, but he stopped and he made time for this dude and he helped him out. Oftentimes we probably look at people in our schools and we're like, man, that person, they look kind of lonely, but I'm about to be late for class. I got to go. Okay, I got to go. Or my friends are waiting on me to go to lunch. I don't want to get in the back of the line. I want to be towards the front so that I get the good chicken and not the bad chicken. P.S., dude, those of you guys that go to South, your all's lunch is terrible now. When I was at South, our food was like gourmet food. I legitimately looked forward to eating lunch every day at South when I was at South. We had 6 different food lines. I just want to tell you this to make you mad, and then I'll get back to my lesson. One was like a quick line that had like taco salad and different things like that every single day. Then we had 2 chicken lines that had like chicken nuggets that weren't like the flat little knees. They were like nuggets. Okay, they were like as big as an egg. And we had all those and spicy chicken sandwiches. And then we had this thing called the Blue Plate line, which was like Southern cooked food every single day. So you could go get like steak and gravy, green beans, mashed potatoes, like all that stuff. It was awesome.
What happened to this?
Well, they cut your budget for food, and then Obamacare stuff came in, and they said everything needs to be healthy. So then you got the other stuff and said, anyway, that totally has nothing to do with what we're talking about. I just wanted to let you know the place that you attend school used to be a place that you could be proud to be at for lunchtime. So anyway, back to what we're talking about. We sit and we'll think about our friends maybe that are struggling with something, whether it's a breakup or a situation at home or something that they're struggling with in their lives that could be pretty serious. We'll say, man, like I feel like I should really reach out to this person. I should really talk to this person. But then we get our smartphone out and we open it and we're like, oh, but I've got all these notifications from people that don't even matter that I need to reply to. I've got all these Instagram notifications of people that like my picture. I need to go check this out. I've got all these Snapchats that I need to reply to all these people that I'm trying to keep streaks with. I've got to do all this stuff. Whenever this friend that was on your mind that probably needs you has now been flipped to the back burner for crap that has no relevancy whatsoever in your day-to-day life. Like what are we doing? All right. What in the world would happen if this week you opened your hands up and gave the gift of your time to God by giving it to someone that needs his love? What would it look like for you to do that? To actually like take this thing and stop letting it be your entire existence and actually focus on the people around you? What would that look like for you? For some of you, your day-to-day life would look completely different because I like follow you on social media and this is all you do. Literally. All day. It's like everyone wants to be like a lifestyle blogger or something now or something like that. Like you want so badly to feel important that you're like, let me video absolutely everything that I do and put it on this so that people can at least look at it and that will make me feel more important. Your life's not about you feeling important. All right, your life is about the fame of Jesus Christ, his name and his renown. You need to get your hind end off of this phone and your face out of the front camera of it and start looking out at other people, okay? I'm really sorry, but you're not that big of a deal. No matter how many Instagram stories or Snapchat stories that you post to try and get people to look at you and try and make you feel better about yourself, it's never going to work. Ever. Just because I got 7 new followers today. Cool. What happens tomorrow when you wake up and they unfollowed you again? And you're right back to like 12 or whatever you're at. No, I have 293, okay? And I've been working on those. How stupid does that sound? I have to have a ratio, so I unfollowed 3/4 the people that I follow. So now I follow 12 and I have 48 followers and it's a great rate. Like, shut up. You're so stupid. So we keep on going. Another thing you can be open with is your money. You're like, bro, I'm in high school or middle school. I don't have money. Your parents do. So the fact of the matter is you're probably not rich. Odds are you're not rich. If you're in a rich family, good for you. I'm happy for you. I will give you my Venmo after this, and you can just send some my way. I doubt the Samaritan was rich either. All right, there's nothing about him in this text that says that he was someone of high esteem or someone that had a ton of money. All right, but he still gave that money that he had away to help someone else out. That's the definition of having your hands open. He doesn't have those things closed, holding on to his money like, I can't do this tight this week. There's no way that I can help this guy out. He said, take it and then some. All right, take it and then some. No matter how much money you have or don't have, you probably have something you could give to serve someone else. Like for me, this hurts. What if I skipped my $6 cup of coffee that I get sometimes? My triple soy macchiato, blah, 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 whatever I'm getting. It's only like expensive when I get the frap, but that's what I need to pick me up. You know what I'm saying? So, which is like every day. But what happens if you worked a little harder at home or at your job, and then instead of choosing to spend your extra money on yourself, you invested it into someone else? Like me and Becca have a compassion kid, and I'm not like a compassion spokesperson, but our monthly payment every month to this sweet little 7-year-old girl named Anisi that lives in Rwanda, because of that payment of $38-40 a month, she's in school, she has a roof over her head, she's learning positive things, she's learning about Jesus, and it's because we took that money that we could be using for whatever else and invested it into someone else. We opened up our hands and we said we want to serve, because that's what Jesus does for us. He serves us. We want to serve other people. What would it look like for you if you opened your hands and gave the gift of your money, even if that's a quarter for somebody to get some gum or whatever? What would that look like for you? And the third thing that we can do is this: be open to everyone. All right? The thing that we learned about the Samaritan man is that he was hated because of his background and his culture. The religious men in Jesus' story refused to help him because of their hatred for his people. So here's what I guess my question for you. Is there anyone in your world whose needs you ignore because you don't like them? Is there anyone in your world whose needs you ignore because you do not like them? Or maybe because you don't understand them? Or maybe because for whatever reason you fear them? There's probably that person. But what would happen if you stopped holding so tightly to your opinions of other people, let go of those things and opened your hands up and became available to anyone at any time in any circumstance? What would that look like for you? For a lot of you, that would probably change the entire way you go about your day. Because there's some of you that walk through the hall and you strategize even how you walk through the hall so that you can avoid certain people in the hallway that you don't want to talk to or don't want to see or don't want to come into contact with. What would happen if you would just, maybe like talk to people? Get to know some people that you don't talk to every single day. Maybe actually care about someone instead of pretending to care about someone. All right? It's something that I'm kind of going to hit on this weekend at Doe River Gorge, but this kind of applies to this. You pretending to love God or pretending to love people might trick a few people, but it does not trick the person that matters. All right? He knows your heart, and he knows your motives, and he knows why you're doing what you're doing. So that mask that you're wearing to try and pretend to fool everyone else around you that you got it all together and you actually do care, God sees straight through that junk. Because God looks at your heart. He doesn't look at the thing that you're putting on your face. My hope for you throughout this series is that you will start to look and live more like Jesus. All right, so this week, what do you think could happen if you made it a point to open your hands a little bit? All right, to unclench those fists and offer your hands to the God who loves you, who loves the people around you, and who wants to see this world changed by that love. I just want to urge you this week, live with open hands, not closed fists, not closed hands. And something to kind of close out with before I talk about all this junk. When you think about having your hands closed hands can never give, they can neither give or receive. All right? So not only can you not give anyone anything, but if these are closed, you can't receive anything from anybody. So essentially, if your attitude and your walk in a daily life is to stay like this and keep to yourself, you're totally worthless for the kingdom of God. Because you can't give anyone anything and you can't receive anything from anyone. We have to live open-handed.